What's going on YouTube? It's Chris here, bringing you guys another Fantasy Puck video, and today we are going to be going over some buy, sell, and hold players. But before we get started, guys, be sure that you're joining the Discord. There's a lot of talk and a lot of kind of like, it's almost a little bit of chaos in the Discord lately with all of the trade talk and all of the ad and stream players that we've got going on. So if you like fantasy hockey and you have questions about your fantasy hockey team, be sure that you join our Discord, as well as we have some premium features available to you guys, including our trade analyzer and our player projections for the rest of the season, so that you guys are getting the most optimal players. Be sure to check that out as well if you guys are interested in that. But before we get started and into the video, guys, I want to know in the comments down below, what position do you think your team needs the most improvement in, whether it's like specifically centerman or wingers, if you guys count positions. Defenseman is another big one, and then goaltending, as always, is a huge topic just because of the variance and how some goalies are performing as of late and how some goalies haven't been performing as of late, which we'll kind of get to in this video. And if we could get 100 likes on this video, guys, that'd be absolutely insane. We really appreciate your guys' support on every video that we post. Without you guys, we couldn't be doing this on a regular basis, so thank you guys. And if we can hit 100 likes, that would be fantastic. And always, guys, be sure to sign up for Prize Picks if you're interested in that. Use promo code PUCK. It really helps us out as well too, and they will match your deposit up to $100. So if you're interested in signing up for Prize Picks, definitely make sure that you do that. All right, guys, moving on to the video. All right, our first player we have on this buy list is Artturi Lehkonen of the Colorado Avalanche. 14 goals, 18 assists, 16 power play points, 95 shots, 56 hits, and 30 blocks on the year. Line 1, power play 1 exposure, plays with McKinnon at 5-on-5, and then you got him on power play 1 as well, guys, with exposure to both McKinnon, Brandon, and Makar. Really, really good option. He's got 6 points, 5 goals of which are in his last 5 games, so he's really hot right now. Incredibly good playoff schedule. The Avs are unbelievable for this year's fantasy hockey playoffs, which we'll touch on in future videos, but really, really, really good schedule for the Avs so far, guys. So definitely, like, Lehkonen just checks all the boxes for me. You probably don't have to pay too much to get him, probably like a mid-round pick. And he's got good peripherals and power play numbers as well too. Should be a lock on that first line, and likely stays on power play 1-2, even with Landeskog coming back. It could even be an added bonus as well too if they decide to keep him on the first line. But I don't know what they're going to do with Landeskog. They could play him at second seed. They could play him line 1. They could reunite the big line back together there. So we'll see what happens. But Lehkonen should remain in the top 6 and is a really good option, especially given, like I said, the Avs playoff schedule for a buy option for you guys. So, and shouldn't cost you too much either. So definitely recommend picking up Lehkonen now before it's too late. For our next buy player, we have Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes. This is a guy that I talk about a lot and that I have talked about a lot in the past. He's got 5 goals, 18 assists, 23 points on the year, 5 power play points, 88 shots, 38 hits, and 43 blocks. Close to a point per game right now, guys. His production has slowed since his initial start, where he was just on just an absolute tangent, scoring like right, left, and center. And he had some games where he had like over 7 and 8 shots a night. But like, he's kind of come back down to earth in that sense, but that doesn't mean that he's bad by any means. I look at Chychrun kind of like a poor man's Roman Josi. Just a crazy amount of shot volume, like a lot of potential here for him to go to a team and be the #1 defenseman just with a better offense altogether. And those of you that are worried about, like, okay, if he gets traded to like a team, like, is he going to continue to perform the same, or is he going to continue to like see as many minutes? And my response to that would be like, okay, if you're paying 2 first-round picks and a prospect for a player, I'm assuming that you're going to have him on your first pair, or at least play him over 20 minutes a night. Especially like why would you spend that much in terms of like assets to get a guy and just to play him for 17 minutes a night? So that's my kind of argument to that. But again, like, it could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. But he's 5th amongst defensemen in shots on goal per game, which is just a ridiculous stat since, you know, obviously, like, with his sample, it's kind of smaller than some other defensemen. And then 5 points and 70 shots in his last 5 games played. So you know exactly what you're getting out of him. A high shot volume defenseman that chips in with good peripherals as well too. So I think he's a pretty safe bet. Again, not a really like high value guy in terms of his name, but he definitely might be a little bit more expensive than some other guys. Also, another good option that I was thinking of that I didn't include in this video is Thomas Chabot. So if you don't like Chychrun, definitely check out Chabot. He's been really good lately. And like, these are just peripherals guys. Like, I talk about it all the time with defensemen. where a lot of the times, like when I target defensemen, it's simply because of their peripherals, and I don't care so much about how they're producing as long as they're getting me things like shots, hits, and blocks. But that being said, like I'm obviously going out of my way to target power play one defenseman, and I believe like Chychrun will just be a power play one defenseman for the rest of the season, whether he's on Arizona or not. So I think he's a pretty safe bet. I like him a lot. Definitely recommend getting him. Onto our holds, we have Martin Necas of the Carolina Hurricanes, and I know that I've had like a surprising amount of people either message in Discord or message me directly regarding like, do I drop Necas? Like, what do I do with him? Like, I have Pacioretty coming back, or I have like Evander Kane coming back, and obviously like those two guys are a little bit of a special circumstance, and you're probably in like a 10-team league at that point if you can't find anybody else to drop other than Necas. But just to remind you guys, he's got 17 goals, 22 assists. He's a mainstay online too. That hasn't changed at all this season ever since like him, Svetch have been put together. They've been producing very, very well lately. 147 shots is a ton of shots as well too, guys. And he's on power play one. They might have taken with. It's going to be interesting to see. So don't quote me on that because they might slide Pacioretty in there. I know for whatever reason they've kept Seth Jarvis on the power play, like on power play one, just the entire year, regardless of how he's been producing. But I'm curious to see what they do, whether they slide him to power play 2 or power play 1. So don't quote me on that one. But just a reminder for you guys, like, don't panic on this guy. Even though he's got 1 point in his last 5 games, and you look at his, shot volume, it's come down slightly, and you're like, oh, like, I don't know. Do I keep this guy? Do I drop him? Do I pick somebody else that's hot? Like, you got to remember not to panic. And I understand that not everybody is going to always be hot the entire season. And we're going to have a lot of good second half players that kind of like break out, similar to like what happened last year with Tim Stützle. But he still leads the Canes in points. And I doubt that that's going to change anytime soon, even though Aho's like a couple points behind him. Obviously, like if he has more points than Necas, that makes sense to me. But, Necas is producing really well this season, and I just expect him to just bounce back from this kind of little slump. But however, like I said, I understand that not everybody can stay hot. And if you want to move this guy, I just recommend waiting for the trade deadline. Just don't panic on him right now. Don't drop him. Obviously, him being 79% owned should tell you that he's a good, valuable player. So I'm just, if you're going to move him, wait till the trade deadline. Let him kind of like gain his value back up over the next couple weeks, and then progress kind of through that sense. But I wouldn't drop him right now, and I'd just hold just to see. He's kind of going through a little bit of a slump. Speaking of guys that are going through slumps, Jack Campbell was brutal for the majority of the season. 13-8-1 with a 336 goals against average and an 886 save percentage. Guys, not what you want to see, especially if you drafted him higher up in the draft. He's been great in his last 5 games. Stuart Skinner wasn't able to play because he took a leave of absence because his son was born. So he took kind of like 3 games off personal. And then Campbell's been unbelievable in his last 5 games, the 4-1-0 record with a 218 goals against and a 919 save percentage. And so he should continue to see more starts. I believe he's starting against Tampa tonight. This is the 19th time of this recording. So I believe he's starting against Tampa tonight too. So that's just a good indication that, like he should go back to seeing more split starts. He might even continue to see the majority of the starts going forward if he continues to stay hot. But could be a sell now option, of course. Like if you're just really frustrated with this guy and you're looking to offload him, now is the time to sell him essentially. But for me personally, I did pick him up in one of the leagues that I'm not really competing in right now, and I'm just holding him. If he could be a really high value trade deadline target if he continues to be hot with Edmonton, and Edmonton's been a lot better recently as well too. So. If they add a couple things at the trade deadline, whether it's a defenseman, whether it's more scoring, and it just, helps shore that team defensively, then like Jack Campbell could be a really, really good option for you guys to hold on to. So I definitely recommend holding on to Jack Campbell going forward. If you kind of see the trend where he goes back to like his regular play like he was earlier in the season, then obviously it's a drop. But for right now, I'm holding on him because he's been great in his last 5 starts. All right, moving on to sell, we have Travis Konecny of the Philadelphia Flyers, 24 goals, 24 assists, 13 power play points, 127 shots, 40 hits, 28 blocks. He's been great this season, guys. Had a great season for the Flyers. Literally one of the bright spots on that team, him and Kevin Hayes, I believe. But again, this is an opportunity for you to upgrade. This is an opportunity for you to move this guy while he's hot to get somebody better for your team, somebody that's more consistent, somebody to help you in terms of, whether you're missing a specific category, like say I want to improve my shot volume. Maybe I go look at a guy like Pacioretty, and if I offer up Konecny for him, who's 24 goals, 24 assists, like it's going to be likely that I'm able to get some of these players that are going to help my team. The other thing about Konecny is he's shooting like at a ridiculous rate right now, 18.9%. His shooting percentage is up 11.6% this year. So that's something to note. And, like obviously like there's regression and some people just stay hot for an entire season. But the biggest concern with me, and this is with any Flyers player, he can get benched and scratched at any point in the season. If he does something that Torts doesn't like he could just be a health bomb for the next game, especially in tight matchups, guys. Like if you're competing, like let's say he just gets healthy scratched in the middle of the playoff week because Torts doesn't like something, like he didn't back check one time, right? Like it could happen. It happened to Hayes earlier in the season, and that's something that like terrifies me, especially like if I have this guy on my team. And obviously, like as unlikely as it is, it's still a possibility for anybody on this roster. So that's just something to remember going forward. Don made a really good point. You can look to just add Boone Jenner as soon as you move this guy for very similar output. He's been great. Just came back off an injury. If you don't have him, I definitely recommend looking at picking him up, especially in leagues that count faceoffs. Boone Jenner should already be owned, but if he's available, definitely grab him. But yeah, just Konecny's been great, but like I said, you can upgrade and you can just get bench or scratch at any point, which is like a really big red flag for me. So moving on, we have Seth Jones of the Chicago Blackhawks. He's 55% owned. He has not been great at all this season. 4 goals, 15 assists, 9 power play points is pretty good for a defenseman, but the thing that hasn't been up to par is his peripherals. He's shooting quite a bit, which is, on par with what he was in the past. But it's just the hits and his blocks. And the Blackhawks are only going to get worse. Kane recently said that he's not at the point where he needs to get shut down. So it's still very likely that Patrick Kane gets moved. He's been dealing with like this injury on and off. So there's been speculation that like they might just shut him down for the season, not trade him, sign him to a 1 year and like just rinse repeat next year. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen right now. So it's likely that he's going to get moved. Jonathan Taves is probably getting moved. And there's nobody else on this team. Like, I think the reason why Max Domi's had such a successful season is because of how much he's been able to play. Kane's also hasn't been good at all this year too, but you're just losing like 2 really good players off the bat right there. 10 points his last 10 games though. So this is a good indication where if you're trying to offload this guy, you want to sell him while he's hot. Like you go and be like, look, like he's got 10 points his last 10 games. He's good peripherals. He can shoot. He's a power play 1 defenseman, and then you just look to offload this guy. So, anytime you have a player like this, when you're trying to offload, I always try and look for targets that will help my team. So, like, I ask myself, what does my team need? Do I need power play points? Do I need hits? Do I need draft picks for next year? Am I trying to tank? There's a whole bunch of different things that come into consideration when looking at specific trade targets for this guy. But just target what you need help in. And use Jones as a piece to kind of like help you in that sense because he's been really hot right now. So guys, that's going to do for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your guys' support. Let me know in the comments down below. Like I said, what do you think your team needs the most improvement in, whether it's positionally like defense, forwards, specifically centers, wingers, goaltending. It'll really help us out just for like a way to like kind of curate more content specifically to you guys. So if we see, for example, a lot of guys posting that, oh, like I really need to improve my D, we can tailor videos to you guys in that sense as well too. So be sure to leave a comment down below, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day.